on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Nima Akasha Zibiri. How you doing?
Fine.
I see you're wearing your Ankara today.
I vex. It continues. So I was dressed and I couldn't leave because, you know, I had my sick children yesterday with me all through yesterday. And we did the blood test. The man has very high white blood count, so obviously has an infection. But the sister had the malaria parasite, so we're treating both of them. But it's good to do. I think everybody's child in Lagos now, they're having one thing or the other.
Yeah.
The hospital, the mother and child was so full yesterday, I had to run out there to the private hospital for fear that it might be just something general. Catching something worse. So I must say thank you to all of our well-wishers for supporting YK's birthday yesterday. I saw the videos.
No, but I was happy you mentioned because people were asking, why is Nima, I didn't see Nima at the party, I didn't see Nima at the party. I had to just, I was saying they should just wait. You will say it this morning, our kids are not
it has to be something bigger than me. Too sick
for you not to show up.
For you not to show up for YK's 60th. It has to be bigger.
Yeah.
And I drove home yesterday, I got dressed, I wanted to leave. I just didn't feel it was right to leave. And then Tokpa had offered to take the children in, but taking sick children to visit and leaving them and partying just didn't sit right with me. YK, please. I know you.
I know she
It was also the same reason that Miriam couldn't show.
Yes,
She's been ill too.
Hi, Tokpa.
I'm grateful to God for life. When a journey of 10 minutes takes you over an hour, then you know that it's trying your level of...
swollen.
No, I actually slept well. I slept well. You know, when you begin, Nigerians, we pray over the things we don't pray about. When you are prayed over traffic, Father, clear the road. Father, let the road be free. Father, whatever is blocking this road. Oh Lord, like every tongue that can be spoken, I've spoken it this morning. Just to let the road be free. But I had fun at YK's place. That wasn't the reason. It was just traffic.
I'm doing amazing. So I had fun yesterday. It was back to back. You know, after the show, I had to go on set. On the movie set, then from set all the way from Alagbado, I had to fly back to the party yesterday. But I'm grateful to God. I've rounded up my scenes on set.
Oh, great.
So after the show now, I'm going to the spa first of all to have my massage, and I'm going to bed. I'll wake up like 6 p.m. 7
conditioner and just knock yourself
as in the way I came, just sleep till evening.
Yesterday was great. I think with Governor of Lagos State showed up. He came for the party. And we obviously accosted him. You said you've not come on our show. Yeah, you're avoiding us. I know you'll be yabbing me. Don't worry.
He's been watching.
If you're attacking somebody's stuff,
so I'm glad that he knows that we've been expecting him. So he has promised that he'll come on the show sooner than later.
Yeah.
And today, my twins' birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday, Michelle.
Today.
Michael.
Thank God. I didn't buy party. Well, I didn't. What did I do?
Cake.
I just did cake and drinks.
For the school, right? And that's fine.
But listen, I only bought a packet of biscuits and juice.
That's okay.
They can now get the
bought
gifts.
them gifts. What's
wow, it's good to have
aunties. God bless our aunties. I'm telling you, the aunties sort them out. But I have to greet Titi Layo's mom, Mrs. Omotunde Adelagun, Mommy Totland.
Yeah.
Today is her birthday. She's 59 today. Happy birthday.
Wow.
Happy birthday, man.
One of the hosts of Wake Up Nigeria.
Thank you.
So we saw her mom yesterday.
Yes, we did.
That is pink suit, complete. She's very, very English.
The fine woman.
Very, very English, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned that she's she's a host of Wake Up because a lot of people have been waiting. Okay, so they've resumed the birthday shout-out.
No, we have.
Our boss was sitting right there, and I said, Madam, he was one that banned us from mentioning this. Please tell him that tomorrow is your birthday. So Valarina said, okay, Muriah, you are allowed to mention her birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we have the permission to do that. Okay, Tuesday, so much happening. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, we're going to start with the Punch. Governors disagree as presidency backs Malami on open grazing ban. Abuja-bound nutritionist missing for 18 days between Ogun and Lagos. Ex-Niger State Governor blackmailer, chronic liar, serial betrayer, says Wike. Firm petition CP tackles monarch as traditionalists disrupt construction. Lagos Ogun sign MOU on Joint Development Commission. Reps allege sabotage. Grill officials over the $120 million abandoned port scanners. Experts predict 11.5% lending rate as MPC ends meeting. An Indian strain, FG, begins hunt for 90 isolation evaders on Wednesday. And Taiwo was built to go to the UK course from June 12, says sister of the late pilot, Ashani. Okay, which story are we taking here? Let's start with the human interest story.
Yes, so Okpeyemi Anifowose is a nutritionist who had gone missing for the past 18 days. He was supposed to go to, I think, go to Abuja. Yes. And he was supposed to come to Lagos to take his IPP IS capture. And then he went missing. So the last time he spoke to his mother was when he called. He said he was going to lodge into a hotel, and he called about 5 p.m. on Thursday. And he said he was in Mowe, told the mother that he was in Mowe. But by the time they didn't see him, they had to go to the airline that he was supposed to board. And they said nobody came in to check in, nobody boarded. And they've been looking for him. They went to report to the Ogun State Police, who said that they couldn't track him because their server had been down for the past 2 weeks. So they had to get an independent tracker, and they found that they tracked his phone to somewhere in Iju.
Iju, exactly.
Yeah. So, but the issue now is they had reported as well to DSS, but DSS says it's not their jurisdiction to handle this at the time, but they would commence investigation. So everybody's on the lookout for
it's been 18 days. I mean,
it's 18 days now.
Sometimes I think we need to find a process to this. Because
so the family is worried that they don't know if he's dead or alive because nobody had reached out to them for a ransom. So they don't know if he was kidnapped or if he has been killed. Or.
But again, we need some kind of process to this. When something happens, how fast can we go to the press? How soon does the press take it over? How soon can we bring it on television? You know, this has happened.
How long be down?
Unfortunately, the police don't work on your
That's a long time.
So a person goes missing, they still say you have to wait for a certain number of hours.
Of days.
24 or 48 hours before you make a report. So
even if it takes 24 hours for the report, what about for the press? Because I know this story is not the first time we're hearing it. But it's just not like getting to the press. So why does it take so long for us to bring these things up?
There's been a relationship between Lagos and Ogun. They share borders, a lot of commercial activities. But now we have a Lagos-Ogun Joint Development Commission to accelerate fiscal and socio-economic development in both states. We know that many residents of Lagos live, many people that work in Lagos live in Ogun, and there's a very fine thin line between Ogun communities and Lagos communities and development tends to skip those people. But we're hoping that with this, it is said that this is a game changer that will transform the urban agglomeration that exists between Lagos and Ogun, and they want to drive growth, bridge the development gap, and ensure that Lagos Meta City status also extends towards Ogun State. So I'm looking forward to how this plays out.
So some of these border communities, Ota, Ilete, Akute, Alagbole, Lambe, Ojodu.
I kind of knew that white is
yes, because she's always complaining.
Moe, that's good for you, for your business. Warewa, Sherry, and all of those areas are looking to get good development. And I did not hear Agbara in this calculation, but I know Agbara is a also very important border community between Ogun and Lagos and commercial.
Okay, we didn't take the major headline, but I guess we take it elsewhere.
We're waiting to take it. Take it elsewhere.
Let's take it in the nation. Presidency slams Southern governors, open grazing ban. FG to fund ranching. Akeredolu says ban is irreversible. IMF activates $50 billion plan to end COVID-19. 58 killed in Niger, Benue, and Plateau. More INEC offices raised in Anambra, Enugu, and Imo. Why autonomy for judiciary is key by agency. And Abiodun's aid surety is a fraud suspect, says US. Let's start with this Asaba declaration. The face of, yes.
Garba show in another, I'm not saying shocking, his usual response this time around. That
speaking on behalf of our president again.
He said presidency. So on presidency's behalf, not the president, because I want to believe they speak on their own these days, yes. So he joined voices with the Minister for Justice, saying that
Attorney General.
The Southern Governor's declaration is not a solution to anything. It's not solving any problem. That, you know, is not taking into cognizance the freedom of movement as enshrined in our constitution.
Specifically, he said it's of questionable legality.
So, and he said that the Minister for Agriculture had in April given the president some point solution. I can't say whether it's 10-point solution on the header and farmer clashes issues that we had and open grazing issues that we have, and that solution, that resolution that he gave was a solution in itself because it offered, reviving the reserves and putting in all the facilities that will help others remain in the reserves. And he thinks that that's a better way, calling out this. I think when we continue to do these things, when we continue to do it, we continue to expand those division lines that people are talking about that remain rumors. I think people like him and the Minister for Justice should control their emotions, their sentiments, and their speech,
but
and separate their offices from it. So
no. This one is speaking for the presidency. He's not separating his office.
Presidency. No,
yes.
I'm saying they should now. If they cannot be objective with the issues on ground, they should separate themselves from it. I'm careful with what I'm saying, Tokwe. There's a reason. You see, people already are calling for different agitations, and the southern governors responded to the noise in their regions, saying this is happening. In Benue State, in a report in the Daily Trust, in Benue State, elders and farmer clashes, reprisals and all of that continue to be the order of the day. Right. Without solution, even with the one that the Minister for Agriculture has brought, they are having 11 people killed in a particular place in Jos. 4 people were killed in reprisal attacks because, elders and farmers are clashing. And this continues to be the order.
Let me quote what he said. He said the president, he said, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed a strong resolve to address the conflict of herders and farmers in a sustained and long-lasting manner that should lead to the emergence of a permanent solution to the frequent clashes after many lives will be lost.
And that's
the same thing that you talked about. Yeah, there will be a solution. We have to
wrap up on this, but I think to add to what
open grazing is not what the president who has a ranch does. He has a ranch and he doesn't do open grazing with his cattle. That's one. Number 2, if you say people have a right to freedom of movement, freedom of movement is qualified. Every right under fundamental human rights are qualified. It's qualified when it comes to issues of trespass
on another person's rights.
When it comes to issues of trespass, so if you want to revive issues, revive.
We must also consider the fact that COVID happened to us. Finances are tight, and that's why we was delayed the implementation of these lofty plans. That by June they should begin implementation. But as you said, how many people have to die before we find
do something?
I know you're running up, but may I even ask a question? These headers are really not the ones that own this cattle. They work for rich men who own it. Why can't those men set up ranches? This is a private business.
That is another
Why can't you do the business right?
Yes, So we need to attack this thing layer by layer.
separated themselves from the attack that happened in Benue. That's a Meeti Allah.
Yeah,
we continue to beg them to start reserves. But they would rather join.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with the front page review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So moving on now to Daily Sun. Open grazing, Buhari false ban, Okay's grazing reserves take up. Southeast leaders decry injustice against Igbos. Another INEC office raised in Enugu. 2.353 million Nigerians displaced by bandits, says NEMA. Retired Commodore fears more Air Force plane crashes. Lagos Ogun sign MOU on borderline development. And ex-Niger Governor Aliyu Mole in PDP, says Wike. Okay, which story are we taking?
What the INEC story? Yes. So INEC offices were raised down in not just Enugu but also Oka, that's Anambra State. They said it was the Udoji Secretariat near Aroma Junction. The hoodlums came in. First of all, they had robbed the filling station before getting to the INEC office. They went into the charge room of the B division where they housed their generators and equipment, and they set it on fire. They took some amount of money from the office. They said they had cash lying around and they took that. Then they came with their own vehicles, about 8 vehicles, and they had to refill. They came with gallons of fuel and gallons for fuel and diesel, and they refilled themselves before, setting the place on fire and left. But then the police had waded into the situation. They said they were able to, get some of them, and they are still chasing them round and they're going to hospitals to check because they had like a battle between both of them. The security man, first of all, was killed. His gun was taken from him, and he was killed, gunned down. And they said they had issues with, is there an altercation? It's bigger than an altercation with them. So some of them would definitely be in the hospital. So they're going to different hospitals to find a way to fish out the hoodlums. That's the situation right now.
All right, so let's take
2.3 million people displaced by floods and bandits, according to the National Emergency Management Agency's boss, Mr. Mohammed. He was giving this as the annual report for 2020 and saying that within that period we had 2.35 million people displaced, and that their efforts helped to reduce to that number. I think that we need these figures to help us in planning. We are planning, preparing for the new rainy season. I wonder if the report didn't carry what they are planning to do to help people relocate or, to be moved to better places. But we're hoping that this year's report will be better, so we don't have that high number.
So I want to take the air crashes. This is a veteran fighter who's had 2,500 flying hours experience before he retired. Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun spoke concerning the plane crash and said that there are usually three things that causes plane crashes: human error, aircraft error, and act of God. And that human error is the AIB will be the only one that will determine. That's the Accidents Investigation Bureau will be the only one that will determine what happened to the plane that crashed on Friday. That everybody is saying this and that is all speculation until the AIB comes out. He also mentioned that the Air Force is doing more work now, because before they fly VIPs and usually fly a few military people around, but now there is a lot of insecurity challenges going in the country, and more people are being needed to be flown around the country, and that is waiting to see the investigation, what the AIB would release. He also mentioned that he's not happy with the president declaring Monday. Monday was a work-free day for military officials. That when we're at war, there's no time. Face the work that needs to be done, investigate and protect the more lives from being lost.
All right, moving on now to Vanguard. Let's find a story we've not taken. Over 116 killed by herdsmen militia in Benue and Plateau in 2 days. Sounds like a massacre to me. ICT leads sectoral contribution to GDP with over 4 trillion naira in Q1. One dead as police fall attempts to set station ablaze in Lagos. APC Southwest leaders' resolutions have our support. This is Akeredolu and Fayemi. And Gambian Commission uncovers ex-President Jammeh's alleged crime. 9 Nigerians among victims. All right, so yesterday we took in the papers that Governor Akeredolu and Governor Fayemi were absent at the meeting on Sunday, where that was called by the APC chieftain, Chief Bisi Akande. But now they've come to say that there was a mix-up with the invitation and their timing, that they totally stand by the decision made by the governor. So from that alone, it shows that there's a complete solidarity from the Southwest on the position of concerning the issue of open grazing ban and other things of power dissolution. Okay, let's take the
issue that happened in Benue. Yes. No, not the one on Benue. There was one that happened in Lagos, yes. Okay. So they said there was a clash between police operatives and commercial motorcyclists. They had different versions of the story. Some said the police were trying to, maintain law and order, but the cyclists were against it, and so they started, fighting. The cyclists were throwing pebbles at the police, and when that was happening, one of them died, and they had to come back to fight the police. So they planned to set the police station in Ilekpo ablaze, but thankfully the policemen were there and they were ready. They were able to, send them away. But then somebody sets, there's this dump site around the area where most of the cyclists relax in the afternoon, and someone set that place on fire. So in that anger, they came back to try to set the police ablaze and all of that. I just want to appeal to our young people. I don't know how we can reach this set of people that feel everything that happens, the police stations must be set ablaze. We don't have enough protection as it is right now. So if we burn down all of our police stations, what happens to us when we need the policemen to help secure our lives? Some hoodlums
have gotten totally out of control. Across the states, in Southeast, in South, Southwest, people just setting things on fire,
setting the police ablaze.
But it's really painful that young people and even across citizens feel that the first line of attack is the police stations. They are the ones supposed to protect us.
Protect us. I don't know.
So Mariah,
And this is how militia starts.
they've been threatening us since that we're going to descend into anarchy, that the level of insecurity challenges, as in, like, we've read anarchy for like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and now we're seeing what anarchy means. This is what anarchy means. It means people take law into their hands. They don't trust the system.
For the system.
Don't
You don't trust the system.
So I think Oti Waikida was painting a picture for us, because sometimes we need to paint this picture where there's a total breakdown of law and order, where the police cannot cannot take charge. What happens is that communities will now start having little warlords. So maybe kids will have their own, a Kecha will have their own, and they're the ones going to be in charge. And when that happens, you can't really...
There's no freedom.
There's no freedom at all.
We saw a sample of that just 2 days after the NSAS protest. Before you leave your house, you will pay like 4 warlords. They mount each roadblock.
Exactly.
So we've already seen a similitude of what can happen if we allow this anarchy continues. And it is not any leader that will help us. We as citizens must take ownership and fight. So as somebody wants to put somewhere on fire, young people should come out and say, don't do it, because when this thing burns, who will protect us going
when
forward?
people put together their collective rights and hand over to somebody to enforce and ensure that there's fairness, justice in the system, and it doesn't happen because a few people continue to cut corners. You report a case of a missing person, missing child, or even property to the police station, and you're made to pay,
is done.
Facilitate everything and all of that. Even the person doing it to you knows that it could be them tomorrow. You know,
That's what we need to daily
Let me quickly take the ICT
you know?
story, please. The ICT sector, that's the information technology sector, has provided 4 trillion naira to the Q1 of our economy, saying this is non-oil revenue. We got 40 million in non-oil revenue GDP, and 10% of that came only from the ICT sector. The Minister for Information Technology, Dr. Ibrahim Pantami, is taking glory that there are some good policies that the government has carried out, which has provided an enabling environment for ICT to flourish in Nigeria.
Okay, Daily Trust residents recount ordeal as gunmen kill scores in Benue. Inside Sokoto Clinic, where locals troop for surgery by quack doctors. University College London appoints Professor Ibrahim Abubakar as dean. Truck crushes 3 to death in Ogun. 2023, more cracks in APC over open ticket. And reps bill seeking scrapping of NYSC. Okay.
So good news. The University College London announced that, let me just take the announcement, said, we are delighted to announce that Ibrahim Abubakar, a world-leading scholar in the field of infectious disease epidemiology, will take up the post of the Dean of the UCL Faculty of Population Health Sciences from 1st of August 2021. He will be taking over from the past Dean, Professor Graham Hart, who was the initial, what they call the very first Dean of that faculty.
Nigerians doing well abroad.
Nigerians doing well abroad. We have good news.
Yeah,
even though we have
thankfully.
some people being investigated.
Yeah, so there's this clinic in Sokoto, according to Daily
While we're
Trust
celebrating doctors abroad.
investigation. They revealed that the clinic was meant to treat minor sicknesses and for vaccination, but then it's been turned to a center for illegal surgery. So I want to get the name of this person. It's according to their findings, a community health officer based in Zamfara State. Well, so there were 2 people involved. The community health officer that was based in Zamfara and the health worker, Noura Mohammed, is currently the person carrying out the surgery. So in that village, so to speak, he's been carrying out surgeries successfully. So the people have trusted him, because though there's no theater, there's no equipment for these surgeries, he just finds a way to do it. And because he's been successful so far, people keep trooping and asking him to do all of these surgeries. So when they asked him, I said, why? You know that you're not qualified, you're not a medical doctor. He said he has worked, he went to School of Health.
Experience.
He has worked with a lot of surgeons, and by experience, he knows what to do and everything. This is just so...
I hear you, it's painful, but the truth is that
there was a
many
need.
doctors don't want to go to certain areas. They all flock to the south, certain areas, because that's where they get the revenue. So the real doctors in those communities, they need doctors. So when a quack is providing a service, so you have to also look at it. It's not right, but we have to find
what can we do?
How the government needs to incentivize doctors to go there.
Yeah.
Because what we do in Nigeria, many of our Nigerian doctors that are relocating abroad, they are going to villages. The incentive is you come into our community to be a doctor. You don't be a doctor in the city. They will take you into one Michigan, Minnesota, one village there. You be the doctor or nurse there. They give you a good house. They give you incentives. So Nigerians, we must give incentives to people to go and be doctors in Kotangura. Give them house. Build hospitals
pay them
and
well,
pay them well.
package.
Even
Exactly.
in the Lagos that you are speaking,
Have they
we
given you
have
well?
health science graduates opening up clinics in Lagos, opening up chemists and all of
Right.
that, administering injections and all of that to people in communities daily, treating people for COVID without gloves. Yes. And we don't enforce it. So what are you
So
saying?
it's those incentives that would actually make them stay. All right, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we talk the hot topic for the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So last week, as parents, we started the conversation on the NYSC posting graduates to volatile states. Today, we're discussing the House of Representatives considering discontinuation of the National Youth Service Corps scheme in its entirety. The NYSC Act that is already billed for the second reading. Now, the question is, should NYSC be scrapped? What are your general thoughts on this? You can call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so we can read your tweets. Right, so as I said, last week we were talking about postings, and that's not what we're discussing today. Our focus, however, is should the entire scheme be scrapped, especially because many believe that it has outlived its purpose and that right now there are other ways and methods for getting that integration that we seek amongst ethnic groups. But others are saying, listen, there are other communities that really need these schemes, that their entire function is based on these youngsters coming in to teach and help the communities. What are your general thoughts on this? Let me start with BC.
Okay, I would say that, first of all, I would ask a question, what's the purpose of the NYSC? Which is basically for integration, so that everybody is seen as one Nigeria. You are able to intermingle with other tribes, other ethnic groups, learn about their way of life, intermarry and all of that. So when you graduate from school, instead of serving in your local community, you are deployed somewhere else so that you can have an experience of their cultures, you know, just in a bit to see ourselves as one Nigeria, one people. And I will also ask a question, which is, has the NYSC been able to achieve the purpose for which it has been set? We're not very good at reviewing what we have from time to time. So we always allow the problems to linger. It's now when everybody's now shouting, scrap it, you now stand up and go, okay, let's scrap it. But if we had started taking from the inception of NYSC, you know, reviewing where we have gone wrong, reviewing if it's really working, changing methodologies to see that, you know, everything is work in progress. It's not, okay, once people shout, okay, let's close it down. You were supposed to do some things, first of all, to lead us to that place, you know, but we always wait till everything just blows. But I would also say, Mariah, I would also say that now that we have realized that it's no longer serving its purpose, it can be worked on. We can actually, if we're really ready to work on it, we can work on it. We can make it go back to the original reason it was created. But I don't think we're in that space now. I would advise that for now, let us scrap it.
I'll come back to you, Matt. I think I really like what you said, because everything should be seen as a project. It's a project, and it should be monitored and evaluated per time.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're not used to doing around
But
this
we
part of the world.
do. Mariah, if you talk to anybody who works in the ministry, they have the form. They fill the form. But
Take the question.
they fill the questionnaires.
Data, how do you measure? How do you actually use that data?
Because if you, but when sometimes we assume that these people don't do those reviews, but when you ask them, they do. They all fill those forms, they fill those questionnaires. But
What do they do with it?
we are doing it as the way we go to school. We do it so that we can pass. We do it so we can get promoted. But we're not really. We're not doing the job
Using
so
the
that
data.
we understand it to be better.
we're
We
not
do it,
doing
we're
it then.
taking the process. So they might be doing it and they'll tell you, I'm sure
do it
everybody,
on paper.
all of that are working right there, and they'll say, what's the Biajulu saying?
They
What
do it
does she
on
mean?
paper.
We do this thing.
On
We
paper.
have our review. We have our numbers. But we're not seeing the results trickle down. And we're not seeing your responsiveness.
Interpreting the data you collect.
Yes.
I mean,
You're not responding to it. So we collect, but we're not responding.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with BC that NYSC has failed us. I actually think, I know many people that are married right now, and their only reason for marriage is because they met the person while they were in NYSC. I know people that they'll say, my best friends, we served together. These are my best friends, we served together. I know people that they've resettled in locations that they had no idea about simply because they were taken to serve there and they saw opportunities. So if we're looking at it, that all the things it was meant to do, it didn't fail. What we are responding to now is the high level of insecurity in Nigeria, and we cannot open our eyes with this insecurity and prioritize a system, a process above the lives of human beings. So I think it should be reviewed, not scrapped.
Okay. All right, please, Nima, what are your
You are
thoughts?
on the same page.
So
But I personally do not think they should scrap it. I think, like Tokwe said, we are responding to the insecurities on ground. And most of the time, aside the insecurity on ground, you see the objections to the NYSC as a system is usually the mindset of some parents. I'm giving my child the life of comfort. Why would they send her to one bush or him to one far place? And the purpose of the NYSC is to promote unity, cohesion, and resilience, and all of that to prepare us for life. In some countries around the world, they draft you straight to their military. You do a year, 2 years in their military before you can qualify as a graduate of that to even get any kind of employment, whether private or public, within those countries. And it's for a reason. Some countries are poised and ready for their defense. We now have an issue on ground. If people say they should just start to deploy straight to military, Nigerians who want to be protected will start to scream. My Peking will go die. We always have an objection one way or the other to issues on ground. But the insecurity on ground now is one that I would never say that they should overlook when they know they can't protect lives, because we don't even work with data. I'm sorry to deviate, but this thing is bugging me. I don't know whether it's every week or every Monday. When I drive through Apapa Woro-Shoke Expressway to work every week, I see bodies, fresh bodies, just scattered on the express.
Sleeping
Nobody
or
dead.
Wow.
Cars would have climbed. You know, it's usually a struggle, last-minute struggle, not to join other cars driving over a body on the road. Yes.
Nobody takes this data. Nobody works with it. And you want us to send... Yesterday, we were reading the papers, and a young lady had gone for her transcript in Abuja.
And later told
And,
dead.
you know, 2-year-old graduate who didn't have any business being in Abuja, except to go and personally process transcript that they will not give to her personally. And she was found dead in the drains. This data, these constant reports are things that will worry any parent, even any individual, not to talk of parents. So if governments has to deal with those little issues, things as laudable as the NYSC will be allowed to go on. I like the NYSC. There are certain benefits to the NYSC. One of which is that you can raise funds if you have a business mindset. For a year, I saved the whole of my alawi. I didn't spend it. So for some people, it is for that. For some people, it's just the opportunity to see that there are opportunities out there. Do you know that the distributor for Ama Wonder in Lagos was saying to me, the original idea for that company was not from North and it's produced in the North. It's an Easterner who settled and farmed in the North that produces that thing. My cousin went there with a dentistry knowledge and got a lecturership position in Kano. And today he's living fine. His family, everybody, they're enjoying Kano. So we need. See, Nigeria is bigger than Lagos.
Yeah.
We need somebody to expand and expose us to these opportunities, and so people can take it.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still talking about if NYSC should be scrapped. And some would argue that, listen, the world has gone past where we are, and that there's so much to do technological-wise, and there are so many solutions that we need in Africa that NYSC is just drawing us back in. We are still talking about integration, when really we're talking about technological breakthroughs. So there are different arguments, and I'll come to you, BC. What are your thoughts? Because as much as I agree with Tokwe and Nima that maybe we should suspend it because of the insecurity, but going back to the real core of it,
we are achieving the purpose
to what others are doing, do we still want to remain at this level where we are constantly trying to just integrate, when really we should be talking more about innovation?
Thank you. I'm going to answer that question in a bit, but I wanted to talk about the sincerity of the NYSC program. I remember that even in my days when I served, NYSC was for people who did not have a choice, so to speak, because from the beginning, there were parents who knew that their children, rich parents, who knew that their children were not going to be deployed anywhere else. They set them up. They picked the company they want their children to serve, and they worked their transfer there. People like us who had nobody to work for us were deployed to states that we had nobody. You just have to go there, do your service, and come back. So the people who made the laws, first of all, did not let their children serve in any place. They selected where they wanted their kids to serve. They prepared them for it. So the people you see in camp, most of the time are people who had no choice. For some, their parents are just okay, they can let them do whatever. But most of them were people who had no choice, who had no connections to send their children wherever they wanted their children to serve. So we had people from the beginning, we had people who were not interested in any form of integration when it came to their children. So it's the the masses who were left to you know, so we need to be sure of that integration and that unity we claim that we want. We need to be sincere. Do we really want it? The people, the powers that be, the people who make these laws, do they really want it? I served. I experienced NYSC. I served in Benue. I was in Makurdi for 1 whole year. For me, it was a waste. So you see this business Nima was talking about, it's good if you're at that point. But we know that most young people are not there. When they graduate from school, their eyes are still up. I was one of those. I wasn't thinking business at the time. So my 1 year was wasted. I go to local government in the morning, I come back, nothing happens. If they had taken me through a training.
You were meant to be the solution there.
No, hold on. If they had taken me through a training after school, let's say employability, for me to gain employability skills, for me to gain so depending on the field I wanted to focus on, and I was trained for it at that time, I would be better prepared to handle the job after NYSC.
I don't want you to drown that first point to me, which is like, for me, I mean, for me, that popped for me, because these NYSC was created by the elites.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the vision is not being driven by them, because their own children don't even necessarily have to go experience it. So it's for the masses, and then it might be defeat the entire purpose of the integration that we seek. Let me take this call from Yomi. Yomi, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Morning.
Morning, you're live. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is I'm Yomi. This is my first time calling on this.
Welcome to the show.
All right. On this NYC issue, I don't think the NYC is not important, but given where we are now as a country, given the insecurity challenges we have all over the country, I think desperate times calls for desperate measures. So I believe that NYC should be restructured, not to be scrapped completely. And when I mean restructured, like I don't know the name of the lady, I don't know. But you're talking about some countries where they put in their security to set for like 1 year or 2 years. So if we are in security, if I think.
I didn't get it. Yes.
But BC, you see, all these things you're saying, because I have been a coach, I've spoken at a few of this NYC orientation during the 3 weeks program. They are already doing many of these trainings for them, trainings to increase employability, skill acquisition. Many NYC camps do it. But what I think is the insincerity and the lack of human treatment, the way we treat human beings in the camp is terrible. I remember Sanzi posting online that somebody reported the camp where she served, and that the camp was worse off. I think it was Bayelsa. And people were saying, Bayelsa, the place is horrible, the camp is dirty, there are no toilet facilities. And that when she served there years back, she had the same experience. And 5 years down the line, it's still the same thing. So we have a project called NYSC that, despite all the funding that went to it, was still not well maintained. So if our representatives were really listening to us right from time, we always wait until things break down before we deal with it. We would have started evaluating them on a regular basis. That what we are hearing reports that your camp in Bayelsa is not a safe place for human beings, because just a few years back, like 3 NYSC members died because of the environment that they were in. But still now, that wasn't addressed then, and we're not addressing it now. So it's not about scrapping, it's about discussing with them. It's about how can we make this thing better. It's about evaluating, are the people that are in this thing, do they understand what they are meant to do? Do they understand that they have the lives of Nigerians' future generation for 1 year to mold, and that their job is to mold positively and not make them feel like we are suffering here? Because many people serving feel like we're just here to suffer for 1 year.
All right, let me take this call from Ayo. Ayo, are you there? Hello, Ayo. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yes, my name is Ayo. I think I concur with what the last speaker speaking is saying about NYSC. What is the rule about NYSC? We're having insurgency everywhere. We're having insecurity everywhere. And what the House wants to say is they want to discuss the issue of our children, deploying them to states that are not secure. I think what they need to do is make this an optional. I know we all know that some people that their children school in abroad, they already have where their children want to serve.
Yes.
And those minorities that doesn't have where their children want to serve, make it an optional. Make NYSC service an optional. If you want to serve, choose where you want to serve, then you will be deployed to that. But if you don't want to serve, let government create an avenue whereby these children will know that, okay, after my schooling, it's either I choose to want to serve or I choose not to serve. So why?
All right. So, but you see, when I hear you, I come to you, Nima. Okay, let me hear your thoughts first.
I'm not disagreeing with Chokwe and BC, but the issues are not only government issues. It's the level of corruption of us Nigerians in every civil service, government agency that we work. It's Nigerians who are working in the NYSC who would do redeployment for you for 50,000 in camp. It's Nigerians that, you know, like me and you, who are there, who are worsening these issues and telling the big man, no, God, don't worry, we'll put your daughter where she will not suffer, as if NYSC is meant to suffer. This is talking about people who serve by choice. They are not up to 2% of the people who serve. Most of us who serve, we are not serving by choice. The country has said that if you don't have your discharge of finished letter, you can't get a job. And most people have big dreams of where they want to work in Nigeria, so you have to get your finished letter. But then, it is not only those whose parents can place them. What about those remaining people you're talking about? Didn't they survive? Are they just going to go there and languish in suffering and be crying every day? You're supposed to make something out of the situation you're in. As a Nigerian, and we know how resilient we are, it's a Nigerian that will go to Liberia and start a business, or Ghana, that the government will have to put a policy in place to displace that Nigerian from surviving, because we survive everywhere. It is situations like this that makes us resilient.
Somebody was saying that if we restructure it such that these young people that are in school actually apply for themselves. You research the communities you like to work, either in the north, in the south, and the east, outside your original state of origin or your region.
Yes.
And then you apply there, you research it, you present a paper on it and why you want to go to that community, you practically apply there. They then invite you. So there's a proper structure where it makes it more exciting and desirable for young people. Not that someone will just deploy you somewhere.
I also think
these are ways you can make it more interesting.
I also think that we always throw money at every challenge. Our only incentive is money. So for NYSC, the only incentive is you're going to get paid, and then we increase the alawi. While in actual fact, it is the experience. So when you make that opportunity available, that people get incentives of not just that you will get a job, which was one of the attraction in the beginning. You get a good job. The environment where you get to work, you're treated like you are royalty. Some villages celebrate you because this is a doctor coming in to be. They used to do it, but we no longer do it now. So we need to go back into that reevaluation and say, these are the communities that critically needs youth core members, and these are what people they need. So we're not just saying a doctor should go to somebody that is not a teacher. A microbiologist should go to a village and become a teacher there, because what they need is a teacher. So we would groom people that can later end up staying there to work and bringing their fresh ideas into that community.
That is it. Well, I think we have to wrap up on this, because we're trying to bring in the DG of NYSC. Hopefully, he comes in as soon as possible and continue this conversation with him. So we'll see his thoughts on this. Let's go on a break now. When we come back, we'll move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, today marks exactly 1 year after the gruesome murder of George Floyd in the United States that sparked the Black Lives Matter in the US that went on to the whole rest of the world. So we ran into an article by Professor Yomi Fawemi when he was able to articulate some lessons we could learn, especially workplace lessons we could learn from that gruesome murder that happened a year ago. And it was interesting for us to invite him over to share with us his thoughts on what can we learn from the unprofessional manner in which the entire incident happened, from when George Floyd went to the shop to buy a pack of cigarettes to the point where the police was called because they thought he had a fake $20 bill, and then he was arrested and then killed. Joining us right now is Professor Yomifa Wehimi. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Good morning. How are you today?
Yeah, it's always good to have you on the show. So we saw the article and we thought it was pretty interesting. Could you just tell us your thoughts on this and the fact that there's so many things we can learn from that experience that happened a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, it was a sad one year ago. I mean, like I wrote in the article, it was just a regular day. People did everything they could. And somebody went to a store and gave somebody a $20 bill. And the person that received the $20 bill suspected that the bill was fake. Now, that's an issue for the workplace. I mean, so how do you suspect currency without use of technology? So that's another thing we can learn. Let's stop raising people let's stop building business models on suspicion. So there could have been a technology, there could be a simple light that could have shown whether the dollar was fake or not, but that wasn't provided. And this person felt this dollar bill was fake, but like he gave a testimony in court, he said, well, he liked the interaction he had with this guy, and he decided that, okay, even if it's fake, I'm willing to pay for my pocket for it, right? But then decided that he was going to tell the supervisor, and the supervisor tells him to go and meet the man outside, and he went to meet the man outside, and the man said, well, bill is not wrong, the bill is not fake, and then went back inside and told the supervisor he wasn't able to retrieve it. Then another worker, who was not part of that transaction, which is another workplace issue about delegation of authority and responsibility, calls the police. Now, the police arrive, and the conversation went between them and this man, who we now know is George Floyd, and then another set of policemen came in, and they tried to arrest him, and in the process, one of them, Derek Chauvin, put his leg on his neck for excess of 9 minutes, and in the process, George Floyd got killed. Now, the issues there is the fact that, one, the incident started in the workplace. This was a regular shop. It could have been your studio, it could have been my office, right? But there was the lack of effective management that led to an escalation. That's on the side of the shop. But there's also on the side of the police and the professionalism expected, wherein somebody chose to demonstrate abuse of office and force and power and kill the man in the process. One of the things that the court showed clearly was that this man was trained on how to restrain people, but refused to accept the training when it came to the point of deployment. So that's part of the lessons there. But is it the question we need to ask ourselves is, we just need to remember that we're human beings. We just need to be kinder than before. Let me tell you what I did last year, myself and my sons. We decided to do an experiment, what it takes to kneel down for that long. Now, for people who kneel down regularly, it may not be a big deal. So the three of us decided that we're going to kneel down for the number of minutes Derek Chauvin knelt on the neck of George Floyd, just to be that wicked for long. After the third or fourth minute, my legs started to ache me. Actually, by the third and fourth minute, I had to change my legs to the other side, just for you to know the amount of anger, wickedness, hate, racial bigotry that made that man to stay that long and kill the man in the process, despite his plea for his life.
Right. So I hear that, and I thought the article was pretty interesting, because I never thought of those elements of workplace unprofessionalism that we saw. However, bringing the story home, it's been a whole year that this happened, and the fact that many other countries around the world kind of jumped on this Black Lives Matter. Do you think anything has really changed across the world since that death that happened, and the fact that Derek Chauvin was actually convicted finally? Do you think it brought some kind of succor to the world, and do you feel that going forward, these kind of things might reduce?
Yeah, I think things have changed. I mean, people may not agree it has changed as practically they want, but sometimes when you want to change society, you need to be a gradualist. Some things don't just change by the snap of the finger. One of the most important things is the role of the supervisor of direct shoving. Now, in the US, most murders by police goes unpunished. The policeman gets there. But for the second time in recent times, a police chief is not like a DPO, but it looks more like a commissioner of police, came to court to testify against the staff. Derek Chauvin's direct supervisor came to court to testify against this policeman. Now, those are two very significant things that we have not seen in a long time. Actually, only 2 police chiefs in the history of the US have testified against a policeman. Interestingly, it's the same police chief. Now, so that's a change. So the police is accepting that they are doing something that is wrong. One other thing that's also changed is the fact that states have now introduced laws against that chokehold. I mean, before that time, there were only 3 states that has a law against, but now we have over 20 states. And that's on the side of the police. But what inside of corporate Nigeria, corporate Africa, corporate US, and it extends to many parts of the world now, there's now an increased consciousness of the need to ensure that indeed Black lives really matters. So one of the direct things you realize that more organizations are having targets around the number of Black people they have in leadership. Young people are having targets, and it's also reflected on women. So in today's world, corporate world today, if you're a woman and you're Black, you are having a higher chance of getting into some position just because of more considerations for gender and for Blackness. And of course, let us not forget it. All of this happened in the build-up to the US election. In the US election, there was a woman on the ticket, and who was also Black, and that was Kamala Harris. And there was a sense in which the poor handling of the Trump administration, who was Republican, made more people feel this is a time. So some people felt one of the ways to respond to the poor handling of this situation is the fact that the Republican didn't do the right thing, and some people did like a protest vote. So that's another case. So I'm trying to show changes in policing, change in lawmaking, change in business and employment, and also change in politics.
Okay.
Let's take the simplest in the order of events that you have outlined for workplace lessons. The very first event was a $20 bill exchange between the deceased and the shop. I think it's receptionist or someone at the shop. Let's localize what should be done if it was a Nigerian situation and how that can help us.
I mean, it's sometimes in life, one of my favorite quotes is the one that says that great doors swing on small hinges. A simple fluorescent light colored blue will have shown whether that bill was fake or not. So the question is that anybody who has interactions and has to receive cash, of course, one of the beauties of life and one of the things all of us start to explore is to use technology. So if a POS transaction was done in that instance, maybe we would not have had this situation. So for those of us who have businesses and there is cash, please ensure you have a POS and people can pay and you can reduce the risk of fake dollar bills. But if there's a reality of a fake dollar bills, just introduce a little technology that can help the person to detect it. And let the person detect at the point of collection. One of the things that happened in that case was this guy collected, suspected it, accepted it, and he said so in court that he decided that even if the bill was fake, he's willing to pay on behalf of this guy because they had an interaction and he just loved the guy. Now, and then this guy has gone with the cigarettes he went to buy before they tried to retrieve it, which and again shows a lack of process in dealing with issues. So you suspected an infringement, you accepted the dollar bill, the guy collected the goods, went out, then you now went out after him. I think that was a very risky behavior that showed a lack of process and protection for the employee, because in that process, you exposed him, you left your shop to run. And I'm sure you have seen that happen before in Lagos, right? You go to a market and you see a girl running out or a boy running after one person and say, oh, guy, you did not give us this. It's a risk that is not worth it.
Okay, sir. So I want to bring it back to the Nigerian context. We naturally are a people that the younger ones are not allowed to challenge the older people. So, we find a way to bring it into our businesses, our companies, our organizations. So you have your boss who is naturally abusive and you do not have a right to challenge that boss because in the African context, the younger can never be right against the elder. How do you think we can begin to change this narrative to help us, follow the guidelines of working in civility in our organizations?
Thank you. Very great question, Ma. I just wanted to balance this so that we can actually talk. Many times when we refer to the African culture, I always ask that question, is there anything called the African culture? Because it's a subset of cultures, and it's also a contrast. I'm Yoruba, for example. We have a saying in Yoruba land that Omodegbon, Agbagbon, Lafidalefe. Ife is the origins of the Yoruba by tradition. And what that proverb says is that town became cosmopolitan and became important because of the wisdom of the young and the old. So that means for the Yorubas, there is a need for a mix of wisdom of Benudake and Sorosoke generation. It's not a contest. And when we say you can't challenge, we have sayings that shows you can. What the culture teaches is how you challenge or you confront. And it's not just an African issue. Of course, you remember that in this Derek Chauvin case, and one of the things I tried to highlight in the article, there were 3 other officers. All of them were junior to Derek Chauvin, and 2 of them raised concerns. One of them first said, let's check the pulse. The guy refused to accept. The other one says, let's turn him over. Because in the training of a policeman, when you put somebody on the chocolate and he's lying face down like George Floyd was doing, the training says, turn him on the side, right? Anybody who is a mother here knows the implication of turning a child on side. Most sudden deaths of children happens when they are face down. So that's why you are turning. One of the junior police officers talked to this guy and said, let's talk. And the guy refused. So it's not an African problem. It's an hierarchical culture of power. Cultures that have a high power distance don't know how to do it. But one of the things I've come to realize that there are now organizations that empower employees to speak up. So if you work in an organization where people are abusive, try and speak up. But if the culture does not allow it, I think it's safer for you to leave, because those 3 officers have already been indicted for that crime, and they'll likely be going to jail for keeping quiet. So the question is, the first solution to not be in an abusive relationship is not to enter it. Because every time people ask questions, so what do you do when you are in an abusive relationship, whether it's a marriage or a workplace? The first thing is that don't ever enter. You saw an application, ask question what kind of organization it is. Don't enter into it, because there's no need for you to demonstrate skill at that point.
Thank you very much, Prof. It's always a great pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate your contributions. So we're going to go on a break in a moment, but before I run off, I would like to, it's a year, and everybody participated in the Black Lives Matter. In your own personal view, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Talk where you've not said anything so far, but what do you think we've learned, any lessons we've learned from that experience as a Black race? Do you think we have more value for ourselves? Yes, there's a lot of oppression in our history. Are we still oppressing ourselves, or what lessons can we learn from that experience of George Floyd?
Okay, so from the George Floyd experience, the lesson I would always learn is the fact that, and I think is the importance of technology and capturing the moment. I think that in Nigeria, we can do a whole lot more in capturing the moment, because if that moment wasn't captured, we will not have justice. The reason there's a similitude of justice in George Floyd's case was because somebody took his phone, people around captured the injustice. Yeah. Of course, we can say, you should have intervened, try to fight, but there was a power play but citizen journalism is a very, very important lesson that we can deploy in Nigeria to help us find justice against the same issue, which is brutality within our country. That's one. Another thing that I learned that I would say has been a lesson for me is that protesting is not the solution to the problem. We cannot solve Black Lives Matter by protesting. We cannot bring dignity to the history of black people by protesting. We bring it by empowering ourselves. So education, economic empowerment is the best way out of any of all this. I'm oppressed, I'm not doing well. How powerful are you? They don't oppress you when you're powerful. So get yourself empowered, get educated, be financially good.
I think I'll end on that note. Thank you very much. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll move on to our health topics. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, International Day to End the Obstetric Fistula with the theme Women's Rights are Human Rights. End Fistula now. This is one of the most serious and tragic childbirth injuries women experience. Joining us now on the show to explain further is a medical doctor, Dr. Femi Ogunremi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Pleasure.
You can call us on 09139076948. You can also call us on 08127053687. You can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. All right, so we've discussed obstetric fistula quite a few times, but it's always important that every year we remind Nigerians the importance of this medical condition. Could you tell us, for those who have no idea what obstetric fistula is, what exactly is it, and how and why is it such a dangerous thing for women?
Okay, so obstetric fistula is, maybe before I do that, let us know the anatomy of human ladies' birth canal. So we have the uterus, which is like a tube, inverted sac. And then in front of the uterus is the bladder. And at the back, we have the rectum, which is where the poo comes out from. So the bladder is where the wee comes out from. So you have this bag that carries the baby is in between two other, sacs. So when we talk about obstetric fistula, we're talking about an abnormal connection between the bladder and the vaginal wall. And then at the back, the connection between the vaginal wall and the rectum. So normally there shouldn't be that connection, but in a fistulous situation like this, there is a connection. And this connection happens because of a lot of the time because of a prolonged bad problem. So a lady wants to give birth to a baby, the baby's head comes down into the birth canal, and then normally the head flips out through the vagina, and then you have the baby delivered. But in certain situations, there is a delay in this process. So there's the kind of an arrest of the baby's head in between the pubic bone, the bones that supports the hip of the lady. So you now have the head arrested and then pressing on the structure that is in front of it, which is the bladder. So when that happens for a very long time, you can imagine if you press your finger on any part of your body, it looks white because you push blood away from it. So there will be absence of blood in that area for a long time. And then when you do that for a very, very long time, then the tissue then dies. So later on, it creates such abnormal connection. And there are other things that causes it. It might be, which we can talk about later, it could be maybe what we call heterogeneous situation, where during a process of surgery, then the doctor himself accidentally punctured that area. So there are a gamut of things that causes that. But in a nutshell, the fistula that we're talking about is the abnormal connection between the vagina and the bladder, which leads to continuous discharge of urine through this canal, which is not supposed to be. Or if at the back, it sort of creates a connection between the rectum and the vagina, and then there'll be physics all the time.
So how is it detected early? How soon do you detect it as a pregnant woman?
So usually it's not something that happens straight away after childbirth, and unfortunately, the people that that have this condition, they're people of low socioeconomic class, they're people who are not educated, there are ladies who are living in the rural place. So this thing carried on for a very long time. So after the birth, what happens is if there's a blood, there's a wound that creates in that area. It's not something that you see immediately. So it takes some time after birth, and that period of time varies.
Now, so is there hope for a woman that has this fistula? Does it have like a cure?
Yes, it has a cure, and it will involve surgery. But before we talk about the cure, I think the most important thing is we have to prevent it from happening. That's the major thing. So, and that's where there's a lot of things that has to be put in place. Female education is really key, because when we talk about conditions that lead to, situations that are associated with this condition, things like a lady that is short, when you have people that have going to pregnancy very early in life, when the hip is not big enough, or if you have malnutrition or things like that. So if you educate the lady about such situation, you can prevent it. But in situation when this has happened, yes, there are surgery that can be done.
Yes, talk away.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, because, we've discussed this thing several times, and there's even a movie that was done that generated a lot of awareness concerning it. It is a very preventable situation, and it is also a it's something that can be cured. What can we, aside the education, which is very important, how can we let people raise the awareness of people who are already pregnant into preparing themselves to avoid this kind of situation? And what can be done if you're already pregnant, you're a teenager, you're pregnant, and you might be suspecting this might be your case? What can you do to avoid the obstetric fistula from being your condition after childbirth?
Thank you for that. I think awareness is the major thing. So when we're aware of it, just like you said, then we can, such patients we need to register with, in proper hospital where they can do a proper follow-up. Because the reason why this happens is a lady comes in, obviously you can assess there are some early assessment that we do to check whether the birth canal is actually adequate for the baby to come out.
Yeah, ratio of baby to the hip.
To the hip. The head of the baby to the hip. That's very, very important to assess. And then when you look at their heights, and then there are certain things that can be done pre-natal. So when they're doing the prenatal assessment, this can be picked early. And then if we know that a lady cannot actually go through that process, then the alternative is to have a cesarean section.
Okay.
The doctor can puncture that place by mistake. What now happens?
Okay, so there are a lot of this happen. Unfortunately, being a doctor, we're not actually good. And then errors are bound to happen. It will happen. No matter what we say here or they do or you do, errors can happen. So there are certain situations that maybe even when during the course of birth, process, we use some instruments to extract the baby when babies can't come out. And accidentally during that process, you want to do good, but unfortunately this happens. It does happen. And then sometimes if it's the bladder, we pick it early, and there's just simple process of putting a catheter in and watch things for a period of time. Then the bladder can heal itself.
Right.
You understand? If we pick it early. But in a situation where we do not even know we miss it, then this can then cause problem.
You're explaining something, and I'm just walking back.
All right.
So there should be a process where a doctor looks at a person and says, "This is my own professional advice to you." When I was pregnant with my first child, if a doctor had said to me clearly, "Madam, don't dare natural delivery. This is the consequence," clearly, I know myself, I will run away. But when you just say, you have a tiny cervix, you have a tiny waist, okay, maybe, and like we're joking. And then we have a long labor, 14 hours of labor. You then have to resort to certain methods to assist the baby because the baby had crowned already. You then had to, and then you cause somebody's cervix and you say you missed it, know? And the person then has to live the lifelong consequence of that, It's something that I don't find.
I think, Alaja, I can pick what you're saying, and I say this to my colleagues. You see, medicine has advanced to a stage now that we have to put patient at the center, of care. So whatever we do, we have to be patient-centered. And when we say patient-centered, when you're patient-centered in your approach means that you educate your patients. And I agree with you. There should be a kind of dialogue. There should be a kind of
full disclosure.
You need to. And this is an advice to my colleagues because I see this happen. So we need to engage our patients. Patients need to know your decision. Any adult is allowed to be stupid. I say this all the time. People laugh. If you can process things, you can understand things, you can juggle things, you can reproduce it back to me, you're allowed to be stupid as an adult. If I give you everything, it's not my decision to take that decision for you because it's your body. So I always encourage colleagues that, we give everything to the patient to be able to know the pros and the cons, and in the
Especially when you're
end,
highly paid.
well, I don't know about that, but you know, that's the appropriate thing that needs to be done, and I think that's lacking a lot in some of
Thank you for bringing that, because there was that season of secrecy where doctors feel as if don't tell you, don't worry, we'll sort it out.
We know what we're doing.
Ignorance.
But we're in that season where you must speak, talk to your patients.
Yes.
But I want to talk to you about the stigma. You know, in certain communities, that they don't, because we were just talking earlier that in certain areas we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough physicians that can help to quickly diagnose these things. So women have to live with the stigma of where they can't control the urine that comes out of the uterus.
Abandoned.
So what are you doctors like you? What are you doing to help those who are in the rural areas to help women, to educate them on how to get help concerning this?
Yeah, so I think this is a national issue, because if we look at I think Nigeria has about 2 million to 3 million people that suffer this condition. About 1 million people are in Nigeria. So we have a very large community of people with this condition. And I know there's a lot that is being done, like, you know, in different areas. It's kind of polarized. Areas where you find this more like in the north, in places where they do early marriage, children. So the things to do, it's not only from the doctor's angle. I think policies have to be in place. The government has to be drawn into this. It's not something that you say, yeah, it's the doctor. No, the public enlightenment has to come through programs like this and things that, you know, advocacy that the government will put in place in places where you have, it's been quite endemic and quite, you know, pronounced. So I think things that it has to be an intercollaboration, not just something that would leave to the doctor.
Yeah.
The doctors come into place when issue had already happened. For enlightenment of ladies, educating them, putting policy in place and structure has to come from
government.
The government.
What about enlightenment of culture, people with cultural stereotypical look to things? People who believe that it's either a punishment for what the woman must have done. You know, some people call it some abortion consequence or some past consequence, and then they tag the victim who suffers this condition as someone that should be cast away, you know, such things. It's other people doing it to the victim now. What kind of sensitization do we need to give to people to see it as a medical condition, first of all?
I think, again, education. Public, victims, and, you know, all the laws, everybody that is involved has to be aware, because it's not this lady's fault. Unfortunately, like I said, the people that are part of it are the people in the low socio, you know, economic, you know, class, and obviously the cultural situation that happened there. And they're not in school, they're in the rural places. How we then get this across, you know, to those areas is what we now have to work with,
All right.
with the government.
Let me take this call. Good morning, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to contribute to the discussion that is going on.
Yes, go ahead, Gold. You're live. Yes.
Okay, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. My name is Gold. I just want the doctor to explain to us, you know, situations that, you know, happen with pregnant women when they say they have breech pregnancy. So in most cases in our country, you know, people used to associate that kind of thing to witchcraft, but I know it's not supposed to be like that. What is the cause of it? Because most women die, you know, during childbirth because they have this breech pregnancy, which wasn't taken care of before the time of delivery. And the doctor, please.
Thank you very much, Gold. So do we see that situation whereby mothers die because they have a breached pregnancy?
Okay, so when we talk about breech pregnancy, you see, the normal way that baby comes is you have the leg up and the head down. You understand? So at certain stage during pregnancy, baby roll and they turn and they move, like mommy feel the baby moving. So, or at a particular stage, towards the end of the pregnancy, we expect the head to be down, where the head can then descend and then can, you know, go through the birth process. But in a breech situation, an abnormal part of the body is presenting first. For instance, it might be the leg, which is the foot breech that comes with the foot. It can be the arm. It could be, you know, the shoulder. So those are, and then what triggers, you know, delivery is a pressure at the late stage of pregnancy. The pressure that irritates the birth canal, and then that leads to, you know, the baby's head to maneuver through that canal. So when you have the hand, for instance, is not run like the head that can sit in a position and push and put pressure. So that can put pressure. The lady then cannot, without assistance, deliver that baby. You understand? So the baby cannot come because there's no pressure. There's no how you're going to get the baby out.
When Nollywood, when those movies say, oh, she's been pregnant for 10 months, it's possible that the baby is bridged.
Yeah,
that's why there's no pressure that the baby can't come out. Or when somebody tells you somebody's pregnant for 10 months,
2 years.
The baby
no, the one that we have not heard before.
Possible.
2 years.
Some people carry this.
That's impossible, right?
Well, from the clinical perspective, it's so difficult for me to explain to you.
I've heard that. For 10 years, right?
Yeah.
10 months, I mean.
Yeah, 10 months is still, I mean, people can have...
That's normal.
Yeah, that can happen.
Have you heard of 2 years? That's impossible.
Well, I've heard it. Also. I've never seen it.
I've been heard of
personally. Sorry?
Funny stories.
So, yeah, I've heard about,
so
you know...
So when the baby is breached, they need assistance.
You cannot deliver that baby. Is it that the baby will go through an assisted delivery, or... You know, there are maneuvers that you can do to realign and reposition the baby and give the lady a chance, or you just have to go through the knife.
Okay, doctor, let me ask you this. So we have, you know, people who believe in getting women very early and getting girls and getting them pregnant when their body is not ready. Do you like professionally? Do you have a cap on the age a woman's body ready, so that, you know, when we are appealing to our policy makers, we should have data, we should have medical advice on the age a woman can give birth?
Okay, that's a very tricky question for me, to be honest. But what I can say is an adult can take a decision. Okay? Adulthood starts from 18 years. Get me wrong. I'm not saying that at 18 years old, that's a teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is what we want to discourage. You understand? So you discourage teenage pregnancy. You have to cross that line and be mature.
So even at 18, it's teenage pregnancy?
I mean, of course.
Yes. But 18 is an adult.
Yeah, well, it's an adult, but it's a teenager. You understand? But at 18, you can take a decision what you want because you're an adult. Like I said, you're allowed to be stupid by law. You know, you can, as long as you're mentally stable, there's what we call mental capacity. Once you have the capacity to take decisions, you can do. You understand? So at age... But you have to discourage teenage pregnancy because at that time, things are not fully ready. And not fully formed. Not fully formed, but not fully ready.
Let me take Balkis and I'll come to talk with. Balkis, thanks for calling. Are you there?
Hello, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you too. Go ahead, please.
You say?
You are live. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Please, about the process of delivery. So I noticed that when I wanted to deliver this baby, so I noticed when I was about to deliver, it was very hard for the nurses. They were trying their best to bring out the baby, and at the end of the day, the neck of the baby got stopped. So they were rushing up and down to get the doctor to assist. So before they could say, they would push, and they were already caught by the start of May, at least to allow the baby to come outside. So before they could say they would push and the light, in short, 2 doctors were there, and then of the day, we lost the baby. So I don't know how easy it should be for the first timer, because they always saying first timer. So at least try and encourage us on how it will be easier. Because we even give them to another child. I don't know how easy it will be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Balkis.
Sorry about that.
So sorry about the loss of that child. What happened there?
Okay, so sorry about that, Balkis. What happens is, you know, like I said earlier on, okay, let me address the issue around the first timer. Now, you talk about when is our body ready? okay, for us to go through the birth process. For the first timer, the baby's head goes through a canal at the neck of the uterus that have what the baby. It's the cervix. The cervix is just the neck of it that we screen ladies for during the cervical screening. Now, that cervix has to be soft enough for it to expand and give way for the baby to come through. Now, when you have the baby for the first time, a lot of the time that area is still very thick. It's really thick that if the baby has to go through it, it can just tear the place and then come out. So what we tend to do as a doctor is to do what they call episiotomy. So we sort of cut a clean cut of this cervix so that it would expand and it's not going to tear anyhow. So it cuts and then we can repair that. Right. You understand? That happens. That's usually happens for the first timer, just to soften that place. When you're coming the second time, the body hormone is used to as work on that area, soften it. There's that experience, and then it doesn't cause such difficulty. So I'm so sorry to hear about Beliki's case because.
Was it the baby that? What happened? Did the baby suffocate or what happened?
So the baby cannot. You see, a birth process is a very, very strenuous process. The baby is forcing itself or whatever, the body is pushing the baby against. So if the baby is not strong enough, they become tired. If there's a delayed, prolonged delivery, then the baby can get tired. And then there are ways that we need to assess this. This is where even training not only technology, even training of our people is also important for us to understand what we're picking. When a baby is becoming distressed, you understand, we need to be able to pick it early and then stop it. Stop the process of pushing the baby and straining the baby to the extent that the baby then can die, you understand? So unfortunately, it depends on the place where this happens. It might be in a rural place, it might be, but some,
Mine happened.
I'm just saying.
Mine happened in the city.
Let me take a call. I'll come to you because
I experienced
David,
it.
are you there? Thanks for calling. David, are you there?
Yes, I am.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to quickly make I want to ask a question.
Yes,
go ahead.
My wife was 5 months pregnant. During the period, she constantly and consistently have malaria. She was finally taken to, she had a problem in Abuja, and the doctor gave her, they gave her a drip. Unfortunately, we were having an occasion the following day in the morning. So the doctor did not administer the third drip because he told us that it needs 8 hours between the second and the third drip. We succeeded in that. She then went to Makurdi. She had the same problem with malaria. At that point, they administered 5 drips within 4 hours. For me, that was very stressful to me because the doctor had already told me that she needs to have a drip minimum 8 hours between drips. We finally lost baby in Makurdi, 8 months pregnant. Would that have been part of the thought? Because we were told to the doctor in Abuja that cannot leave.
Thank you very much, Mr. David. So he's saying that was that stress could have contributed to the death of the baby?
No, I mean, that situation is not very clear. So I'm so sorry for the loss of the baby, Mr. David. But there are so many things that could have gone wrong there because the treatment, I do not know how much fluid they've given and what actually happened. It might be something else that's resulted in the death of this baby because giving the fluid alone cannot actually, explain the reason why the baby is lost in this.
Doctor, I want to bring it back to obstetric fistula because I know that when we start talking about medical malpractices or a little bit of mistake on the part of doctors, we would override why we are here. And really, there are many people around Nigeria, around the world, who, because lack of knowledge, have fallen into obstetric fistula. how expensive is it to get treated, and how available are the technical hands that can repair these damages when it's done?
Okay, so in terms of expenses, I have no answer because I do not know.
Oh.
But I know that, I'm sorry, it's just what I don't know, I do know, because it's not something I can give. I can give the information later about it. But in terms of the availability, there are specialists who are capable of doing this. There's still need for training of more people, more hands, to be on deck here, because I look at the data. If we look at the number of people that are suffering from this disease in this country now, we need about, with the number of doctors that can operate as it stands now, we need about 83 years for us to do the backlog.
Wow.
And every year we're having about 50,000, 100,000 people falling victim of this, on a yearly basis.
So we don't have enough doctors and we have so many patients.
We have so many patients.
Would you suggest as a preventive that we copy methods abroad where default methods of having your child is by cesarean section? My consultant said that's the safest method, where you get mother and child out and they're safe. And, and let people opt for natural delivery because of the possible consequences of it for children. We also know that cerebral palsy is also due to natural delivery. There's so many dangers having. Would you suggest that policy be put to place?
Well, I think it's like I said earlier on. When a patient comes to me, I see the patient as a customer who I need to engage, not even as a customer, as a partner, who I need to engage in a process of discussion for us to reach an agreement. Decision to do a cesarean section is not, I won't advise it by default because cesarean section has its own problem as well. It's an operation. It's a major surgery that you're talking about. Things go wrong during the surgery as well. People lose their life. You could lose the baby. You could.
What are the chances between that and natural delivery?
Well, the chances between that and natural, if you do anything natural is natural. The risk is lower when you're talking about something natural. What we need to be looking at is how do we prevent, what are the things we need to put in place, as in educating the ladies, putting structure in place where if there's an emergency, people can easily be attended to, because we don't have enough emergency centers where people can actually be taken care of to prevent the prolonged, labor. And then they're moving, the people that are affected, they will be in a place where they have to travel.
Are you being commercial?
See, I have had... commercial is to go do CS now.
You're considering money.
No.
I have had a natural delivery.
Exactly.
I've experienced both.
Okay.
And I think the safest is a CS any day, anytime.
Oh, you?
But I've sat through with patients. I've stayed 6 months sitting with mothers in a prenatal ward. I've seen what they go through. I've seen mothers cry after a 9 months pregnancy and their babies are brought out stillbirth when it could have been prevented. I think we should not pay...
I've had two natural births.
Can I say something? Okay, let me tell you something. There are people that would detest the discussion of an operation.
Course. Yes, they do.
And they are
for lack of better knowledge.
They are even more.
Yes, they
than
do.
People
and
that will want the surgery like you. But if you then say, okay, go for surgery, have you forgotten that you are going to touch on those people's mood and emotion?
For lack of better knowledge again.
No. I don't think so.
There are different areas.
Yes.
There's anesthesia. Some people come back and they come back paralyzed or something different.
Yes.
I've had that situation where natural birth was easier for me. I know the pain I went through 2 years after the C-section. So they're different, depending on who you're talking to.
And I think we should let the professional advise at every point in time. And what we should advocate is women, listen to your doctor. If your doctor advises that you should do CS, do CS. If they say you can do
I have a friend.
Ask questions.
There are 9 siblings. All 9 of them popped out naturally. Their mother never went through CS.
Yeah, but the thing is, natural birth is even better after the second, the third one. It's easier.
Becomes easier.
Doctor, I beg to differ. So every baby comes with his own
challenges.
Style and challenges.
Yes.
I had natural births for the 3 of them. First, second, very easy. Go in, pop it, and come home. The third got very big. The scan didn't say. We didn't know till I got there and the head got stuck. Exactly what Bilikis experienced. The saving grace was that the baby was still very strong. She came out blue, Kaima.
Wow.
She came out blue and she got an injury, her nerve. We had to start doing physio for years. I knew what I saw. And, so sometimes everything is planned well, but it doesn't happen the way it's planned. And because they couldn't detect that the baby was very big, she came out at 4.6 kg, was very big, we got stuck. So at that point, what do you do? Was it at the point that her head was out that I should have been taken to
CS.
for CS?
No, so it's all in stages. It goes from one stage to the other. When you go into labor comes phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So when you're phase 1, you're assessing phase 2, you're assessing phase 3, then you know. It's just, what we need to be talking about here is the ability for us to pick signs early. Do you understand?
Technology.
And again, the third baby is usually
Bigger.
They're bigger.
I didn't know. They didn't
they're
advise
usually
me.
bigger
Yeah,
than
first
you know.
was bigger.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, when you look at research generally, okay, and 4 point something. That's quite.
She was
quite
big.
hefty.
Her clothes inside her. They had to enter the market to buy clothes.
All right, we have to wrap up. But I think generally, I just want you to final words on obstetric fistula. You didn't want to talk about the numbers, but the truth is that it is curable, which is important.
And expensive.
People must be willing to take that surgery the moment they detect or diagnose something that can be fixed immediately.
They can
I see
afford it.
something. You know, when you talk about the expense, truly I do not know how much it will cost, but what I realize in Nigeria is the fact that, people struggle because we're doing out-of-pocket payments. You understand? It's very hard for people. It's hard in this country to take care of people to be sick.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard. Unless you have it, it's really, really hard. And people, you have to pay. And if there is a system whereby you don't pay out of pocket, there's an insurance system that we can work on.
Another kind of worms. Because it was the papers to the NHIS. There's always one thing or the other. So we have to wrap up. But you're right. Here, it's not easy being a Nigerian because we have to pay out of pocket for our land,
almost everything.
We pay for our housing, pay for our cars, pay for our health. We don't have a system to help. So that's our story. But unfortunately, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
For joining us this morning. That's all we can take on the show today. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.